Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is a really interesting phone, and the jury's still out on whether it's just a brilliant exercise in marketing,
Yeah, right.
or actually the killer phone for 2014.
Yep.
It's the OnePlus One.
OnePlus, that's one word, and then One, another word. So, it starts off a little with a little bit of confusion.
It's also
there.
a little weird and suspicious because the company OnePlus One OPO, it was created by folks who left, maybe didn't leave, Oppo, which is a great company that makes Blu-ray devices we recommend, and a fantastic phone, the Find. This reminds me a lot of the latest Find, the Find 7.
Yeah.
It also looks a little bit, as you mentioned, like the new Xiaomi phone.
Yeah, the Mi 4, I believe, that was announced today.
But there are a couple of things that make this phone particularly exciting to geeks. First of all, it's low price. It's Nexus priced.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's $299 for the 16 gig model, or $349 for the not 32 gig model, 64 gig model. So it jumps from 16 to 64 with that $50 price increase.
At that price, and by the way, this isn't some stripped down cheap phone.
No.
They even call it, and I think they're probably fairly accurate, a flagship killer. It's high end in every respect.
Yeah, and they got a lot of promotion, a lot of press, because they really came out of the gates before they even showed any pictures of the phone. They had this whole, I don't know if you remember, 2 weeks of kind of leaking out, day by day, like, here's another great thing that this phone that you've never heard of by this company you've never heard of does, and by the way, it's going to live up to the hype.
It's really an exercise in brilliant marketing. The final thing they did that really gets geeks excited is, instead of having a customized version of Android on it that was made by the company, like TouchWiz or HTC Sense, this is CyanogenMod.
Yeah, and it's a special version of CyanogenMod, actually designed for this phone. It's CyanogenMod.
What is it, CyanogenMod?
11S. What is CyanogenMod?
Yeah, tell for people who don't know.
CyanogenMod began as an open source kind of overlay replacement for Android.
It's based on
created by the community.
It's based on the Android operating system, because that's open source. And then it's a little sneaky because you download the Google services stuff after you install CyanogenMod. When you do it on your Samsung or your HTC, does this come with all the Google apps and everything?
It does. It's I suppose it would be considered a fork, but it's still capable of having all of the Google apps. It's certified as such.
And they call it 442, based on 442.
Yeah, right? It's based on 442 right now. They promise 2 years worth of upgrades for this phone. And they promise that once Android L, which is the next version of Android, is released, they'll have an update on this phone within 3 months.
Well, the CyanogenMod team's very good. They're very quick, they're fast. I mean, that is attractive to geeks because, among other things, it may be more private than the Android versions coming from big companies. And they do keep it up to date. They add to it all the time. But I've found also that it could be a little flaky, a little buggy, depending on the hardware you're running it on.
Yeah, I mean, CyanogenMod, the strength of CyanogenMod, really, I'll get that reflection out there, is its customizability. I mean, you can customize this to the gills. They've got a theme engine that's included. And actually, the theme engine, you can pay for different themes. So what you're seeing right now is kind of the stock CyanogenMod theme, but I can go into the theme showcase here, and you can buy all these other themes if that tickles your fancy, I suppose. $1.99, $2.23. You got to be okay to pay a little bit for it. So some people are going to be like, no way, I'm not going to pay to skin my phone, but other people might be interested in it.
It's really a desirable phone from a lot of people's points of view. Give us the rundown, and then, by the way, we should thank the guy who got us this phone, because this is the really annoying thing. It's hard to get.
Yes.
You have to get an invite or play a game. This was the phone, remember, where the company asked people to destroy their old phone, post a video so that they could get the opportunity to buy one. They just put out 5,000 more invites today.
I was just going to say, yes, it's called the Blizzard of Invites. So,
but you have to be invited to buy this phone.
Yeah, pretty much still. You have to have an invite, or, some people in the chat room also are pointing out that you can find it in stores. The problem is a lot of these stores are overseas. So, you know, like I was looking at a story yesterday that yes, it had a version of the OnePlus One in stock, but it, you know, it was overseas in China, I believe, and I'm not even sure that it was running CyanogenMod on that version. So you know, there's a little bit of ambiguity there.
You don't walk into a Verizon store, an AT&T store.
No, this is pretty much sold unlocked and meant to be bought outside of the carrier restriction.
Bootloader is unlocked?
It is. Let's see here. It is an unlocked device. You still
Unlocked
have to root
for
it.
the carrier, but you can root it.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty positive you could root that. I would be really super surprised if you couldn't. I don't know that for sure, but I'd be surprised if you couldn't.
Run down the.
It's CyanogenMod. Come on, they built their business.
I think it should be
people
unlocked.
that root their device. So
Run down the features, the specs.
you bet. Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor.
Top of the line.
Top of the line. 2.5 gigahertz quad core. So this is the same as the Galaxy S5. 3 gigs of RAM. So screaming on RAM.
Nice.
Non-removable 3100 milliamp hour battery. 3100 is pretty big, and I have to imagine. I mean, I've had it unplugged since this morning, and it's a quarter of the way depleted. Of course, I've been around Wi-Fi for most of today, but I've been using it a lot today. So there you have that. It's a 5.5-inch 1080p full HD display.
Big screen.
401 pixels per inch, if you care about that. A 13-megapixel rear-facing camera on the back, and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera.
That's high spec also.
Yeah, good pictures so far. I've taken a couple, and I've been pretty happy with them, but they've been in all you know, great light.
Right.
So the real trick is, how does it do at night?
You just got this yesterday. We're not really.
This is more a preview than anything. Yeah, I've only had 24 hours to play with it. So let's see here. Yes, it is unlocked. CyanogenMod, I told you they're going to have the update to Android L within 3 months of the official release. And this particular device, 7-band LTE, it supports GSM in the US. So that's AT&T, that's T-Mobile.
Not Verizon
or Sprint, right. And it does some neat things like tap the screen to have it come on. It also has gestures on the screen. So check this out. I'll go V, and did it turn on the light? No. Sometimes it'll do it.
Do you have to?
It was doing it earlier. Okay. V, if I do a circle, it might come on.
HTC did this with their M8, the
and
HTC One.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Now it comes on and goes right to the camera.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you want that to be responsive all the time. And unfortunately, like, I would never use it if it's only going to work 25% of the time like that. But
one of the problems I've always had with CyanogenMod is the camera app's kind of flaky sometimes and not really responsive. This was pretty responsive.
Yeah, the camera app. I'm actually been really enjoying the camera app. I like the design of it, and it has nifty things like if you swipe down, you kind of cycle through the different filters and everything. So
this is not the Google app. This is Cyanogen.
This is CyanogenMod's kind of skinned version of it. So far, and it has an HDR mode. It has optical image stabilization. You can also turn on a burst mode. There's a burst mode in here as well.
So it's not a flagship killer, but it's comparable with the top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, HTC, LG.
I mean, when you take it price per performance, I mean,
half the price.
I mean, just taking a look at the processor, the RAM that's inside, 3 gigs of RAM, the 801 Snapdragon. I mean, this is comparable. Yeah, it's absolutely comparable to the biggies, right? The S5, the HTC One, the Nexus 5, and it's priced at $300, like $300 for the entry level into this, and we haven't even talked about the design of the device.
What do you think of that?
I really like it. I think it's actually, and it's weird, we were talking before the show, this backing, it's a plastic backing, but it has this kind of rough sandpaper quality to it that I don't feel like I've seen in other devices.
We were trying to describe it.
I don't even know how you describe it. And I don't even think it comes across on video as well as it does in person, but the device itself just feels super solid, has some nice chrome detailings around it, and I don't know, it's just the way the camera kind of protrudes slightly out there, but not in a cheesy, chunky way. I really like the design of it.
So are you going to continue? Oh, and look they have other styles.
That's another thing
coming soon.
Style swap is what it's called, and including bamboo. So it's very similar to what we've been seeing for Motorola's line of phones, allowing you to actually change the case that attaches to the phone and not just put a case on top of it.
So you could buy it after the fact?
Yes, you can buy it after the fact. In fact, the bamboo, I believe, is $49 when it's available. I'm not sure if it's available immediately, but I know that it's coming soon.
Well, we're not going to make you do a recommendation or even pros and cons because you just got it.
I just got it. I'm going to play with it all week, and maybe
Next week we do a
come
full
back
review.
and do kind of more of an in-depth review, give you my pros and cons.
But how do
and
you
all
feel
that.
about it so far?
So far, I'm really impressed, and you cannot deny. Like, it's really interesting to see how competitive this $300 price point is becoming. $300 unlocked, you know, especially considering.
Well, who
the
else?
fact
I
that-
mean, the Nexus is
What-
that
yeah,
price.
I feel like you're seeing more phones kind of circle into this price range and realize like there's something to be said for making a competitive phone to all the phones that cost twice as much for half the price. And we're going to see, you know, the Motorola is doing a lot of this too with their devices.
Yeah,
They're
they've been able to
creating-
bring those prices
They're
down, yeah.
driving those prices down. We're going to see more of that.
Even if it's not a killer, a flagship killer,
Sure.
even
It's hard
at
to say
parity
anything's a killer.
for that price,
Yeah.
it's still very attractive. I mean,
Very.
that's a really good price.
Completely agree. I can't wait to play with it for the rest of the week.
The OnePlus
One.
space One.
That's right.
And we don't have any invitations. We did not get this that way. We're very grateful to a listener, viewer, who sent you a note, right? Do you remember his name?
I don't remember his name, but you know what? Next week's the full review, and he's going to
He'll
get
get
his
credit
name
there.
called out on the show.
What he
apologize.
bought it, but decided he didn't want to keep it, or what happened?
He had the chance to buy it, and on a whim, just very quickly was like, yeah, I'll buy it. And then he realized after the fact, like, maybe I want the Moto 360 instead. And so he basically sold us the phone, and he's going to use that money to get a Moto 360 when it comes
We
out.
bought it from him.
Yep.
And I think that's why this is good marketing. It's creating a need, a demand for this phone because of its scarcity that maybe exceeds what it should have or would have. We'll find out next week.
That's right.